Are you busy? Are you busy today? Are you busy tomorrow? This is the very question we ask our family, our friends, our coworkers, and those we come into contact with on a daily basis. Are you busy? Now consider this. A lot of us claim that we are busy. Some claim we are so busy, in fact, that we don't have time to do anything. For example, I have some friends who claim precisely this, that they are so busy that they don't even have time to relax. They don't even have time to rest. And I asked if I could see their calendar and they even show it to me. I mean, they are very busy. In fact, let me tell you a story. There's a friend of mine who's always been very busy, and I know that to be the case. When I look at his calendar, I know he has a lot going on in his work life and in his personal life. And really, to my surprise, I don't even know how he could keep up. Now, there were times when I told him, hey, you better be careful or else you would encounter health problems. And after some time, in fact, you can only be busy for so long before you get very tired, before you get very fatigued. And then if you don't pay attention, you could easily get burnt out. In fact, this friend that I just shared with you, I can honestly tell you that he's got a very busy schedule, and he was constantly going and going and going and going for 3 years. And then after that, he got burnt out. He burned out. And unfortunately, it was a fairly serious case of burnt out. His health was greatly affected. The guy was completely out of it, and he could no longer function. His mind could not process information. And so then in his sickness, his company laid him off, and then that spiraled into an even greater depression, and then more bad stuff happened to him. And poor guy, overall, it took him well over a year before he finally recovered from all that burnt out. And so here's the problem. In our world today, we are so busy. From the very first moment we get up in the morning, we have like hundreds of thoughts going on in our mind. We're thinking, for example, oh, I have to do this, and then, oh, I have to do that, and I have to do all these other things as well. In fact, one of the things we hear people say very often is that I am busy, right? I'm busy. I'm so busy, in fact, I don't even have time to rest and relax. And in our world today, unfortunately, even with all the technology, with all this other stuff going on, we're still busy, perhaps even busier than ever. And let me be the first to admit, I have fallen into this problem before. There are times when I was so busy running around and doing hundreds and hundreds of things. And then what I realized is that if I don't control my busyness, then my health will be affected. And it's the same way with all of us. We have to realize that our health is very important and that we have to control and that we have to have that time to rest and to relax, right? Sooner or later, if we don't pay attention to this, we'll be tired, we'll experience fatigue. And then those are the warning signs for us to be careful. So it's important that we don't ignore them. They are very important warning signs for us to consider. Now, I know too, if you are a young person, you have a higher tolerance. For example, I remember in my early 20s, I would pull all-nighters and I would be fine the next day with a cup of coffee. But, you still feel a little tired. And of course, as for each of us, as we get older and older, we can really experience the difference. Rest is so important. In fact, it's so important, we have to make it a priority in our life. Which is why if we take a look at the work week, for example, there are 7 days out of the week, right? Well, at least one of the days, we must take it to rest, to relax, and to recharge. Think about it. Even a battery needs to be recharged. In the same way, we must rest and relax to recharge. In fact, the 7th day, Sunday, is a day to rest, the day to relax, the day to recharge. God rested on the 7th day, as you recall in the creation story in the book of Genesis. That's how important rest is. And so This provides a good segue for us into the gospel reflection for the 16th Sunday in Ordinary Time, Year B, from the Gospel of St. Mark, chapter 6, verses 30 to 34. Now, just a reminder too, to be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel to receive weekly reflections on faith. Thank you. So, here's what the gospel reading is for the 16th Sunday in Ordinary Time, Year B. The apostles gathered together with Jesus and reported all they had done and taught. He said to them, "Come away by yourselves to a deserted place and rest a while." People were coming and going in great numbers, and they had no opportunity even to eat. So they went off in the boat by themselves to a deserted place. People saw them leaving, and many came to know about it. They hastened there on foot from all the towns and arrived at the place before them. When he disembarked and saw the vast crowd, his heart was moved with pity for them, for they were like sheep without a shepherd. And he began to teach them many things. In this reflection here, I'd like to share two important points for us to consider further. Number one, Jesus tells his disciples to come away by yourselves to a deserted place and rest a while. You see, it's important for us to understand the context here. In last Sunday's gospel reading, Jesus sent out the disciples 2 by 2 and asked them to go and announce the gospel message. As we recall, the disciples went off and preached repentance. They drove out many demons and anointed with oil many who were sick and cured them. Please feel free to find this reflection on my YouTube channel if you like. Here, though, after being sent out and announcing the message of the gospel, Jesus now tells his disciples to go to a deserted place and rest a while. Think about this for a moment. This is actually a very practical command. Go and rest. Go and recharge. Go and take some time off. If you recall what I shared earlier, there has to be a good balance. And so the key word here is balance. Don't overwork. Take the rest you need to recharge. But then at the same time, don't go on the opposite end, which is laziness. You don't want to go there also. And so there has to be this balance. And this is what Jesus is telling his disciples here. Okay, you've worked hard. Now go and rest, right? You've already gone and proclaimed the gospel message. It's now time to rest. And so even when there is great crowd coming and they do not even have time to eat, as St. Mark mentions in the gospel here, Jesus still commands his disciples to go and rest. Jesus didn't say, now go and continue to minister, go and continue to tend to their needs. No, Jesus says, go and rest, which is why rest is so important. And so for us too, on a practical level, we go to work, to support our families and ourselves, right? We go to work and our jobs, various different jobs, for example, but we need time to rest as well. You see, all this is important. So then remember to go away to a deserted place to rest for a while, which brings me to the second point I'd like to share here. And it's this: to spend time with the Lord, spend time with our family and those closest to us. You see, Sunday is for us to rest and to spend time with God. And it is also the day for us to spend time with our family and our loved ones. And it's important for us to make this point clear because I have some friends who work and work and work. They work all the time. They work 7 days a week. And then a couple of years later, their marriage falls apart. Their kids hate them for never spending time with them. Their life seems to be a wreck. Friends, here's the point. Just like Jesus telling his disciples to go away and rest for a while, it's important for us to find that balance between work and rest. It's important for us to make the time that we have to spend it with the Lord in prayer and reflection, and with our family and loved ones as well. So here's the important question for us to consider further. Here's the important question to think about. How can I find that extra time to rest and recharge in my life? And how can I make sure to spend time each week with God? May God bless you.